Welcome to Tangible Talks podcast. Today, in our biblical character series, we will conclude part 3 of Joseph. This has been a wonderful study and tangible look into the life of Joseph.
We have covered the hatred of his brothers, deception and lies from not only his brothers, but from Potiphar's wife. Joseph was a slave, a prisoner, and now we will see God turn everything around.
Join us as we discuss Joseph Part 3 on Tangible Talks podcast.
Hi, Jana.
Hey, Rita. Hey, listeners. We hope you're having a wonderful week.
Yeah, we hope you have enjoyed this series as much as, well, I have. I think Jana has loved this series.
We both love Joseph. I think that's why it probably stretched out to 3. It probably could have been stretched out to 10.
Yeah, there's so much in this. So many tangible things that you can just sit and ponder, drink a cup of coffee, a cup of tea, go for a walk, and just think about it. I know I have. I know of late, I think I probably, when anybody's talking to me, I go, well, it's like Joseph. and I'll relate whatever situation to the story of Joseph.
It is funny when you have something on your mind, like something you're studying at the time, how applicable that can be in so many facets of your life and how often it comes up. I definitely catch myself with that too, which is good. That's a good thing, right?
I don't think it's accidental. I just really don't. I think that there are very few accidents. It's just whether we're paying attention, you know? Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to just do a real quick timeline and catch us up on Joseph's life, if that's okay.
Yeah.
We had Joseph when he was 17 years old, that he was sold as a slave into Egypt. When he was 28 years old, he interpreted dreams of Pharaoh's butler and baker. At 30, he interprets dreams for Pharaoh and becomes second in command when he was 30. And now we're going to cover that we're going to begin with Joseph being 37 years old, or at 37 years of age. The years of plenty ended in Egypt. When we pick up today, he's going to be 39 years old, and we're going to see his family come down to Egypt. So he's had a remarkable life. He's still fairly young, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, mine too, because I'm not too far from that now.
Very young, very wise, lots of leadership skills.
I say very wise for his age.
Very. So we're going to pick up in Genesis 42. We could do a lot of reading, and so I'll do some reading, and then I'm just going to kind of summarize, if that's okay.
Yeah.
All right, Genesis 42, verse 1. When Jacob heard there was grain in Egypt, he said to his sons, "Why are you looking at each other?" He then said, "Look, I hear that there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy grain for us so that we may live and not die." So this is a way of telling everybody there's a severe famine going on, and they're looking for some source of food. And Jacob hears there's food in Egypt. So 10 of Joseph's brothers went down to buy grain from Egypt. There's 10 of them, the same 10 that sold Joseph into slavery. Benjamin is left behind. But Jacob did not send Joseph's brother Benjamin with him. He said, what if an accident happens to him? So Jacob, Israel, doesn't want anything to happen to his younger son. Then I'm going to pick up in 6. It says, now Joseph was the ruler of the country, the one who sold grain to all the people of the country. Joseph's brothers came and bowed down before him with their faces to the ground. When Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger to them and spoke to them harshly. He asked, "Where do you come from?" They answered, "From the land of Canaan, to buy grain for food." Joseph recognized his brothers, but they did not recognize him. Then Joseph remembered the dreams he had dreamed about them, and he said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see if our land is vulnerable." I know I keep in mind the dreams that Joseph's had. And it's just kind of odd that Joseph didn't remember this dream until that moment, till his brothers came and bowed down before him. Now, that's maybe what it seems like, but if you've ever had a dream in real life, meaning in your lifetime, you've had a really weird dream and you know it means something, but you're not quite sure what it means, you can forget about that dream until it's time. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that there are very few dreams that I remember over a long span of time, unless I wrote it down and go back to it, which, I mean, he was sold into slavery. There's no way he did that. So, I mean, I don't find it odd that he had forgotten about the dream because that was so long ago. I mean, it was 2 decades ago.
Mm.
And I mean, he would have had dreams in between there and life had changed. I mean, he probably never thought he would see his brothers again, ever. And so I'm sure he didn't think about it.
And with so many dreams, sometimes you can't see, well, I don't see how that's going to work out. I don't see that happening. And
Yeah.
maybe with Joseph, if he had never gone down into Egypt, all these ifs, ands, that probably wouldn't have happened if he had remained a shepherd. So this dream, I would think that when Joseph remembered this, he would be, this is how it's working out. This is the plan all along. And I think he had to have received inside of him some encouragement to go, that it was all leading to this moment, all leading to this very time.
Yeah, a sense of reassurance.
A sense of
Understanding.
reassurance. And you would think, well, Scripture says that God was with him. God was with him at Potiphar's house. God was with him in the prison. God is with us always.
Always, yeah.
But we sometimes, and I'm not dismissing that. That's major. But sometimes the enemy can play mind games with us and say, you missed it. You shouldn't have told them those dreams. This is all your fault. Now they've gotten rid of you and the dreams aren't going to come true. I'm not saying that's what the enemy said to Joseph, but I am saying the enemy will do everything he can to prevent these dreams from happening. And I believe that they're vague, so the enemy can't understand what they are. That's how the prophecy was to the birth of Jesus. We can look back on them now and understand them, but moving forward, I mean, seriously, a virgin will have a baby? They have to be thinking, what are you talking about here? Not that I understand it completely right now. To get to this moment in time, there is a lot of stuff. There's a lot of history. Joseph's not the same brother that went looking for them in Dothan.
No. And to me, this is something I very much relate to. I mean, I'm not remotely the same person I was at 17. There's so much growth between your teenage years to almost 40. I mean, let alone everything he went through, right? I mean, just so many life-changing, life-molding experiences that he's not even remotely the same Joseph that he was.
If you've never read this story, when we get here and you hear how Joseph speaks to his brothers, then you're like, oh, he's going to take revenge. At this moment, it looks like Joseph's mad and he's going to take revenge out on his brothers. But as you will discover later on, as in all things, you'll see actually what he's doing is trying to find out if they're the same people.
Yeah, which is wise, right? I mean, these people,
I think it's wise.
Were very cruel to you.
They were very cruel. They were slackers. They didn't do their job. And I'm sure Joseph calculated that they probably lied to their father. So they're very deceptive. We are to be loving. We are to be kind. But we're also to be wise.
Wise, yeah.
And if we're meeting someone new, we're in a new situation, I know with me, and I've had to learn over the years, I just want to bop in and have everybody be my friend.
Mm.
But that's not a wise thing to do. Let time go by. Don't cast your pearls before swine. Don't just give all your beautiful gifts to someone and you don't truly know them. Now, there was a lot said in that sentence. There's a
Mhm.
lot of walking out things, painful relationships, going through situations to learn that. And Joseph has gone through it. He has learned. And so now he's not looking for retaliation. He's looking to see if these brothers have changed, if they're faithful, if they are truthful. And this is how he does it, because he's not going to reveal himself to the Egyptians around him either. He's going to play a term that I hear. He's going to play his cards close to his chest. He's not going to let anyone know what he's really truly up to right now. And there's a lesson in that. So Joseph said, "No, you've come down here as a spy." And the brothers go, "No, we are the sons of one man. The youngest one is with our father." And Joseph's like, "No, I think you're spies." Verse 15, "You will be tested in this way. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not depart from this place unless your younger brother comes here." Joseph, again, probably knows what his father's doing. There's a reason Benjamin's not there. And so he goes through this long dissertation to where he accuses the brothers of being spies. And he says he's going to lock them up. So I had made a note that said the brothers go to Egypt. Joseph recognizes them, but they don't know him. Joseph has changed, but they have not. That is the outward appearance. What about inside changes? Joseph accuses them of being spies and requires that one stay until they can prove they have another brother. Joseph keeps one brother. The others return to Israel and tell him what happened. Simeon stays in Egypt. Israel does not want Benjamin to leave. This is a very tense situation because the brothers need to buy food. They've got to talk their dad into letting Benjamin go back down. They've left behind another brother, and they're going to go and talk to their dad. Jacob doesn't have a really good reaction. He kind of has a meltdown.
Yeah, he's already lost a child. And now this is his last remaining piece of Rebecca.
Rebecca. Yeah, those
Almost said
two, I can
Rachel.
get those
Rebecca.
confused. I have to think about it before I say anything.
Yeah. I think that what I'm seeing, very similar to you, it surprised me that that they didn't recognize Joseph at first. And then after I thought about it, it would be easier for him to recognize them. They are a group. They are also still in their same culture that they had always been a part of, right? So their clothing, their style, all of that would still be the same. Also, their ages, they may not have changed physically as much as Joseph did, being 17 to nearly 40. That is quite a maturing stage for men. But Joseph, through all he had been through, physically, he would change quite a bit, right? He had been enslaved, he had been in prison, and now he is appointed under Pharaoh. And so the culture and everything that he's endured is going to have worn on him a lot more. And we even say that in today, like the miles aren't always what's the saying?
It's not the years, but the miles.
It's not the years, but the miles. Thank you. And so I do think that some of that is the recognition piece. You're also just recognizing one person versus a group. It's easier, I think, to recognize when a group of people who you knew were together versus just a one standalone. And I do think that Joseph is wise to not just reveal all of his cards, because these were people that sought to kill him, and they ultimately ended up selling him into slavery. But these were while they were family, they were not his people. And so I can absolutely understand the
Mhm.
safeguard there to see, well, what are they up to? And I love the fact that, I don't love it, but I think it is very interesting that Israel withheld Benjamin. Like, there's that favoritism
Again.
again. And I know Joseph is picking up on that. And so I think that he's really wanting to see, like, one, I'm sure he does want to see Benjamin for himself, but I think he is wanting them to bring him to him to see how they react to that brother, that the brother who's his
Mm.
same mother. How are they treating him now that he is the favorite? Because it's very obvious that he is, right? He was withheld. And I know Joseph understands what that's like. So he wants to see their reaction to him, I think. I think it's somewhat of a
Yes,
test.
it's definitely a test. So the brothers return to Israel, to Jacob, and they tell him everything that's happened. And Simeon stays in Egypt. Israel does not want Benjamin to leave. And the money that they paid for the grain has been returned to them. So when they opened up their bags to see the grain that they bought,
Right.
their money's in there and they are frightened.
They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh no.
Well, this can't be good. How did this happen?
This isn't good. They already think we're spies. They already think we're up to no good. And here we are. It looks like we've stolen the money back.
Okay, look at their reaction. It looks like we've stolen. This is not good. Man, see,
Mm-hmm.
I would go, wow, I got my money back. I,
Oh, see, I would not. I would very much feel the
yeah.
way that they feel. I would be, "Ooh, this is not going to be good," because 'cause they've still gotta go back. It'd be one thing if they could just stay, but they can't. They've gotta go back for food, so they've gotta face him again, and they know that the money that they were it's a serious situation. I would feel exactly the same way they feel.
So the food runs out, and they have no choice but to go back to Egypt with Benjamin. They have no choice. I made this little note that says there is only one door open, and they must walk
Mm,
through it. Israel and his family have no other option.
yeah,
They
they
are
are
forced.
forced.
They're going to have to go to Egypt. Have you ever been in a situation where there's only one door? I mean, everything is narrowed. You've got to go through that.
I think this is also somewhat because Israel is, oh goodness, what's the correct term? Stubborn? He was going to have to be forced to relinquish Benjamin.
I think that is a beautiful point. So, God knows Jacob so well that he knows unless he's forced, he's not doing it.
Yeah, he's not gonna do it.
And so, I mean, God has orchestrated his plan and even included Jacob in it and how Jacob navigates life. God knows our character. He knows the hair on our head. He knows the number of the hair on our head. He knows us, and he will have his way. It's not a a force in that it's like a slavery thing, but God will set his plan into action for our good. And right now, it doesn't look like it's a really good situation to go into Egypt. It works out for a time, for about 300 and something years. But isn't it interesting that there is no choice? This is the only way. So we go from 42 to 43 and through 45. I'm going to
I
just say,
do just I want to, before we go to 40, move on from 42, I want to read the very last part, um, Genesis 42:38, and this is Jacob speaking. It says, "But Jacob said, 'My son will not go down there with you. His brother is dead, and he is the only one left. If harm comes to him on the journey you are taking, you will bring my gray head down to the grave in sorrow.'" And this is really sad to me because, man, that favoritism with Jacob, it is just so real. Like, I can't imagine my mom favoring my sister that much more than me. Like, they are his sons too.
Mm.
And he's literally telling them he's the only one that matters. You know? Like, this is the kind of setup we have. This is why this family has so many issues. So I do feel for the brothers too. Like, that's tough.
Absolutely. And I do not hear anywhere in that statement Jacob asking God, so what am I supposed to do?
Mm.
No guidance. Should we go down, as we will discover later on with David, we see that David would fast and get direction from God. I also understand that David was the leader of a country, and so he had a whole lot more at stake. But we don't see Jacob pondering
Yeah,
over this.
it's a good point.
Well, there's so many points. There's so much you can look at. Between Genesis 42 and 45, we really see Joseph's heart. He's not the same 17-year-old who told his dreams and plans. This Joseph was wise and had matured. We will have the brothers appear before Joseph again and bring down Benjamin. So there's a discussion in 43 between Judah, between the sons and Jacob. Look, we could have already gone down to Egypt and been back, but you wouldn't let us go. They're waiting for their father to make a decision. And in verse 11 of 43, then their father Israel said to them, if it must be so, then do this. Take some of the best products of the land in your bags and take a gift down to the man, a little balm, a little honey, spices and myrrh, pistachios and almonds. Take double the money with you. You must take back the money that was returned in the mouth of your sack. Perhaps it was an oversight. Take your brother too and go right away to the man. May the sovereign God grant you mercy before the man so that he may release your other brother and Benjamin. Again, the favoritism, isn't it?
Yeah. At least the other brother is mentioned.
He is mentioned. As for me, if I lose my child, I lose him. Jacob had to come, Israel had to come to grips with, if I lose him, I lose him.
His greatest fear.
His greatest,
right?
Yes.
I think so often this comes to pass for a lot of us. If we let a fear control our life, which Jacob clearly did, and he even sort of alludes to it in one of his last statements. When you let fear control your life, it's got to be something that we overcome. And so the only way to overcome something is to come face to face with it.
And not run from it. Again, we should remember that God is with us and that he fights for us. He fights for us. But it doesn't mean that we don't play a part in this. We have to stand. We have to not be afraid and fight. And, so you're like, well, what are we fighting? Sometimes we're fighting fear and doubt. Sometimes we're fighting our past. Mm. Okay, so the men took these gifts, and they took double the money with them along with Benjamin. Then they hurried down to Egypt and stood before Joseph. When Joseph saw Benjamin with them, he said to the servant who was over his household, bring the men to the house, slaughter an animal, and prepare it, for the men will eat with me at noon. The man did just as Joseph said. He brought the men into Joseph's house. But the men were afraid when they were brought to Joseph's house. They said, we are being brought in because of the money that was returned in our sacks last time. He wants to capture us, make us slaves, and take our donkeys.
And I think a lot of this stems from, I think they have so much regret in life for their poor actions. And because I think when you do deceitful things, you are more apt to believe that other people are out to be deceiving and to harm you.
I heard an expression, others accuse you of doing what they would do.
Mm.
And if you listen really closely to how some people interpret what's going on, they're always a negative person or something that they may be telling on themselves. Can't say that's a blanket statement, but from the heart, the mouth speaks. Worth noting. So the brothers are taken to Joseph's house, and they're like, last time we were here, we gave you money, but it was put back in our sacks. So we brought that money back and additional money.
Yeah, and that was Israel's idea, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay, I thought so. I just want to make double check that that's what we had just read. And I think that that's where you do see some of Israel's redeeming qualities.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we are going to write this, we are going to be honest, and we're going to go above and beyond what we owe. And those are the redeeming qualities of Israel, because we have focused so much on his negative, the favoritism. But we all have our own weaknesses, right? This here you get to kind of see a more redeeming quality of a good leader in Israel.
So they say this to the man that's in charge, and the man says, no, everything is fine. Don't be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has given your treasure in your sacks. I had your money. Then he brought Simeon out to them. So Simeon is released. They are brought into Joseph's house. They have their gifts ready for when Joseph arrives at noon. And when, verse 26, when Joseph came home, they presented him with the gifts they had brought inside, and they bowed down to the ground before him. He asked them how they were doing. Then he said, is your aging father well? The one you spoke about, is he still alive? Your servant, our father, is well, they replied. He is still alive. They bowed down in humility. Then Joseph looked up and saw his brother Benjamin, his mother's son. He said, is this your younger brother whom you told me about? Then he said, may God be gracious to you, my son. Joseph hurried out, for he was overcome by affection for his brothers and was at the point of tears. So he went to his room and wept there.
We're going to hear this expression a couple of times, and I think it just shows how moved he gets. Joseph is a person of deep feeling. Like, he weeps with emotion. And I think that really shows his heart here, that he really is overcome by emotion at just being with his brothers again, something I'm sure he never thought would ever happen.
And something he desired, he may not have even known it.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, right? I'm sure that he did desire connection with his brothers. I think that's only natural. And he was always the outcast. He was always the one that they didn't want any, I think it even said that they couldn't say a kind word to him. Like, goodness.
And he asked about his father. Is he still alive?
Yeah.
I mean, that question again reveals his heart. They sit down to eat. Their place at the table is in order of their birth, and they recognize this. They sat before him, arranged by order of birth, beginning with the firstborn and ending with the youngest. The men looked at each other in astonishment.
I didn't pick up on that, but that would have been odd, right?
Mm-hmm. Once they sat down and they looked at each other, it was obvious.
Yeah.
So the rest of Genesis 43 talks about the meal. It talks about the getting together of Joseph and his brothers. And then we go on to Genesis chapter 44. And in my Bible, it's called the final test. I just really like to sum this up because there's just a lot of reading and there's a lot of information in there. But I want to be able to get to the end so that we can have a discussion. So what's your take on the title of Genesis 44, The Final Test?
I think it perfectly sums up what's about to happen. I mean, this is the final test. This is the ultimate test that Joseph has planned, and he wants to see how they're going to react. Are they going to continue that trend with Benjamin, who's clearly the favorite brother? Are they going to use this to their advantage? Are they going to, how are they going to react? This is important for him to see how have they changed? Has their heart changed?
Yeah. And so he sets up putting a valuable cup of his in Benjamin's bag. Then Joseph sends out servants, says, apprehend him. And then there's a confrontation. And they said, we only want Benjamin. He's the only one we're taking back. But Judah and the others said no. And they go back. And basically, Judah pours out his heart to Joseph and says, look, I'll take his place because my dad's not going to make it if we come back and Benjamin's not with us. And I can't carry that with me. So I'll stay.
And
look at that.
And this is the beautiful moment in the story, right? Where you can see the heart has changed. Judah passes the test with flying colors. It's no longer thinking about himself, their advantage. He just truly he doesn't want to do that to his father anymore. And you know how guilty and how heavy it must have been to live with that deception all of those years, and watching your father waste away at the expense of your actions.
This is really what the reaction should have been of some of those brothers when someone had the bright idea, hey, here comes the dreamer.
Yeah.
Let's kill him. No, let's throw him in the pit. No, let's sell him in. But sometimes we're not ready for that in our lives. Mm. And Joseph is wise enough to go, well, let me see if maybe they're going to get it right this time. Without any bitterness, without a sermon, he knows that he's got to hear from their heart. He cannot reveal himself. He can't go any further. They'll just keep coming back down here and buying grain. Maybe Dad will come down sometime. This was the final test. Who knows what it would have been if they didn't pass it. Mm. So in chapter 45, my Bible says it's the reconciliation. Once Joseph sees the heart of the brothers and that it's changed, that they're no longer the same men who hated Joseph, who could not speak a kind word to him, wanted to get rid of him, then Joseph revealed himself. And Joseph sends everybody out except his brothers. And then it says, wept. Yeah. We cried, screamed, whatever that is, loudly. And Joseph said, I am Joseph. Is my father alive?
Yeah, and you see that longing, right? You feel the emotion of he didn't know. He truly didn't know what was going on all of those years. He still clearly misses his dad, and rightfully so. I mean, I can imagine. And it said he's wept so loudly that the others heard, like others in the household heard.
And it was reported back to Pharaoh. Hey, Joseph's having a meltdown.
Yeah. Which would have been a big deal to Pharaoh, right?
Yeah. And I doubt if Joseph was like that. I doubt if he was very emotional. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely think people viewed him as level-headed and logical and very wise. They wouldn't have given him so much. They wouldn't have given him so much authority if he was not that way.
So when Joseph reveals this, his brothers were dumbfounded. Now that's a really interesting word, and of course I had to look it up. But it means to be amazed, stunned. You are found dumb to the point that you can't think or say anything. And I think that's just a natural reaction. What? And then Joseph proceeds to be Joseph. This is what I've learned about his character now. Joseph just plows in and he has a plan. And he says, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then Joseph tells them that he tells them in a way that they know that he's Joseph. This is what I believe. He says, I am Joseph, your brother, whom you sold into Egypt. I don't think that there's any malice there. I
No,
don't think there's any
it's
hatred,
just facts.
any hatred. It's just a matter of fact. In fact, there's only 10 people that know what happened to Joseph. Well, 11. The 10 brothers and Joseph. They
Yeah.
didn't tell their father. They didn't tell anybody else. That is undisputable as to who he is. I am Joseph, who you sold into Egypt. And then he explains about the famine and says, go get my father and everything that you own and come to Egypt. Then he threw himself on the neck of his brother, Benjamin, and cried. Then his brothers talked to him. Then a lot of people get involved, and the plan is implemented, and they're going to go get all their stuff. But more importantly, Joseph says, go get my father. The brothers go back, and they bust into town, and they go see their dad, Jacob, Israel, and they say, hey, Joseph's in Egypt. And he tells them the story, and this is all that Jacob, Israel, says to sum up all the news that he receives. Enough. My son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die.
And this is such a big moment. I can't imagine how the brothers must have felt finally having to tell the truth. You know, like this is such a weighty moment that in scripture, I don't know that it really highlights that, but they had to go tell their dad that he's still alive. And
They had to go and do what they should have done
yeah,
in the beginning and said, Joseph's still alive. However,
uh,
we sold him into slavery.
mm. Big
Mm.
moment.
But a big moment, but it
Probably
probably,
freeing, right? The truth
yes,
will set you free, even though it's
the
hard, even though it may be painful. It's just finally there. It's released.
So Genesis 46 is the journey of Israel to Egypt. And this is the beginning of the fulfillment of the word God spoke to Abraham, where he said that your children will be foreigners in a strange land, but I'm going to deliver them. So this is the beginning of that. This is to some degree been known since Abraham. It was there, but yet it wasn't clear. I think a lot of the times that's the word of God to us.
Yeah.
We hear it, but the fulfillment of it, how it's going to play out,
It's
we don't
unknown,
truly
yeah.
see. It's unknown. So why must Israel go to Egypt? God told Abraham to leave his country. When God called Abraham, he said, leave your country and go to a land I will show you.
Mm.
In Genesis 46, Jacob has a vision during the night. Could be a dream, could be a vision, could be a mixture of both. And God says, do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for I will make you a great nation there. I will go down with you to Egypt, and I myself will certainly bring you back from there. Joseph will close your eyes. I could just cry. What a word. Don't be afraid. I'm going with you. And then I myself am going to lead you out. When he said that, he wasn't necessarily speaking about Israel in one person, but Israel as a whole, as a nation. God's plan included the saving of the known world during this famine at this time, but also putting Israel in a position that they could multiply, become a nation. Then he's going to lead them out, and there's going to be a large number that's going to go into the promised land. Genesis 46:29. Joseph harnessed his chariot and went up to meet his father Israel in Goshen. When he met him, he hugged his neck and wept on his neck for quite some time. It had been 15 years at least. Joseph harnessed his chariot
Yeah, I
and
think
got out and
it's
ran.
about 20.
From the time that Israel goes down into Egypt and he's with Joseph, I think it's 15 to 17 years. So Joseph takes care of every detail, and he's not bitter. He's not angry. He doesn't hold a grudge. He's able to focus on what he needs to focus on, and he's not deterred by any of these other things.
Which is pretty
That
incredible.
it's pretty incredible. I think that might just be the best example of a leader. So
And a
that's what
follower of
Joseph
God, right? I mean,
and a
truly
mhm,
living out the word.
yes, because God's good to us always. It's not always dependent upon what we do. I think there are times when we miss out on blessings because of our behavior, but God's going to work that out in us, hopefully. So in Genesis 47, Joseph takes care of everything. We know that Israel spends his last days there, and then Jacob gives instructions to Joseph on how he wants to be buried.
Which this is
He blesses,
interesting.
which is interesting. Yeah, and I think we covered that when we talked about Jacob,
Hmm.
that he wanted to be buried with Leah.
Yeah.
Jacob dies, and then the brothers are afraid. Uh, Dad's not here to protect us. Joseph's probably going to get some retaliation on us.
This is hard for Joseph.
The brothers are afraid that Joseph's going to do what they did. They're living with that fear. What they would do in that situation, they think he's going to do. But Joseph, being Joseph, in Genesis 50, answered them and said, "Don't be afraid. Am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant to harm me, but God intended it for a good purpose, so he could preserve the lives of many people, as you can see this day. So now, don't be afraid. I will provide for you and your little children." Then he consoled them and spoke kindly to them.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, now see, I'm a bit dumbfounded. Is that our reaction to things, to suffering, to the things that have happened in us? Do we look at it and say, yeah, well, you have had evil intent, but God had something good in mind? So in Genesis 50, and we're coming to a close, then Joseph said to his brothers, "I am about to die, but God will surely come to you and lead you up from this land to the land he swore an oath to give to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Joseph made the sons of Israel swear an oath. He said, "God will surely come to you. Then you must carry my bones up from this place." So Joseph died at the age of 110. So some tangible takeaways that I noted. Joseph did not let anything keep him from his purpose. Not hatred, slavery, lies, deceit, difficult surroundings, a foreign language and culture, not poverty, not riches, not power, not fame. Joseph remained true and focused as a leader.
and he was focused on God, right? He was focused on God and walking in alignment with him
I believe he had to
the
be.
whole time. I mean, there was never I think that's one reason why he's such an inspiration to me, because it was never about him.
Mm-mm.
Ever. I mean, that's incredible. He never veered off. He always followed, he was always faithful, and he always believed.
God was his constant.
Yeah. Which is incredible. I mean,
It is.
it really is.
If you do not fit in, it's for a purpose. We must not let the behavior, the slander, the sloppiness, and the habits of others corrupt us and use other people. Well, they do it. That's how I was raised. That's just how we do it. And you use it as an excuse. Well, if I say something, they're going to be mad at me. Mm.
Mm.
There's a bigger picture. And as Joseph said, the lives of many people were preserved, as you can see this day. How important is it for us to fulfill the purpose that God put us on earth to fulfill? I think it's paramount.
Yeah, and the ripple effect it can cause. How many people it can reach.
Not being an overachiever, not getting up with this major list, you got to do this, you got to do that. No, it's
Yeah,
being
I'm learning
faithful.
to walk that out. I still battle myself daily. and my lists and all these things that I really get real stressed out about that I think I need to do. And I need to just focus more on what does God want me to do?
Yeah. And sometimes he's just going to have you sit down.
Oh yeah, and that'll really throw you off.
Oh, well,
It's like,
it'll
well,
throw my personality off,
well,
huh?
what do I do with
Well,
that?
but
And I don't know yet.
it,
I
no.
truthfully don't.
I mean, I just am like, what? Chill? That's why I had so much difficulty, I think, trying to understand the Sabbath rest.
Yeah, I same. That be still. I'm not good at it.
But there's something in this gift that I think that we are similar on.
I would agree. And I'm learning to see that there's a struggle there with faith when you just constantly feel like you have to keep going for yourself. There's a battle there that I keep wrestling with God on that I'm still in the thick of it. I can't quite get there.
Well, I mean, if we look at when the brothers came to Egypt, when they came the very first time, Joseph could have told them all this at the very beginning. This could have been done then. But there was something greater that needed to be done, needed to find out what their heart was. Jacob needed to be able to give up Benjamin. He probably was hovering,
No.
which, is not a good thing for parents. There, there were so many things, but it finally, at the final test, when Judah stood up and he represented every one of those brothers, and he put his father and his father's feelings and the benefit of his brother first, then Joseph got to say, okay, well, look, this is who I am. There's going to be a famine. You guys come down here. I'm going to take care of you.
Well, and it had to be changed, right? It had to have that period of time to work through all of those things to transform. And we see that time and time again through scripture. It's very rare to just be able to go to the next level without some type of test or trial or some type of situation that's going to make you change and your acceptance of it. Yeah, and how you respond to that. It says a lot about where you ultimately end up.
For those that are listening, apply some of these principles in the things that you're going through. Surely there are people that don't like you. And, look at this story and be encouraged. Take encouragement from this. Joseph didn't let it get him down. And as one of my favorite scriptures comes to mind, Jeremiah 12:5. If you've run with the footmen and they've wearied you, how can you contend with horses?
Yeah, I use that one a lot.
Yeah.
Because I let just trivial things get to me
Yeah.
daily, and I have to let them go. They can't. At the end of the day, they're really not as big of a deal as what I make them out to be. So why do I give them so much control of my
Mm.
emotion and my day and my time when it could be better spent elsewhere? And I think even not just like when if people may not be your problem, it could be that you feel like you're in a hopeless situation. I think Joseph surely had to feel that way in times where he was imprisoned or when he was, you know, imprisoned again from the Potiphar wife debacle. And I think a lot of us feel like we're not where we're supposed to be, or we're not where we thought we would be, or maybe we feel like we've been wronged in some way. And I think that just knowing that God can use all of that, He can use all of that and turn it into something that's so much bigger than you and so much more amazing than where you thought you would go. Like, that's really inspiring. And we need to lean in on that.
I'm sad to leave Joseph. I'm sad that we finished.
Mhm.
But we're going to move on to Moses.
We are. We are going to take a bit of a summer break. We feel the need to rest and spend time with family right now. And we encourage our listeners, you guys out there to do the same. Summer is a wonderful season where hopefully for some of us it slows down a little bit. not having the school and the daily grind of all of that. So we just feel the need. We've got some other projects that we're working on, and yeah, we're going to take a step back for just a little bit.
We're going to re-release.
I'm excited to listen to them. I plan to listen to the re-releases, to revisit.
I listened to Fasting again last week, and man, I took notes on myself. I took a note on what these things said. I'm going to close in prayer. Lord, thank you that you yourself are with us through the power of your Holy Spirit. The same power, the same God that was with Joseph is with us, those that believe. You do care about the things that we go through. You are there with us. But if we'll trust you, you'll turn it around. And in that process, you will change our heart. And we will become more like you, with more wisdom and understanding. Lord, I uplift a very special one that will have surgery tomorrow. And Lord, I ask that you be with her, that you heal her, and that this time be a time of healing and refreshing for her. Thank you for those that listen. Lord, may you touch them. May you be with them in a special way. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. Well, once again, guys, we thank you so much for following along with us as we just concluded Joseph. We'll put you back here with some new releases. Hope you follow along with those, share some of your favorites, and we will pick up back here with Moses when we start our biblical series back up. Until then, we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.
Bye.